From an official Creed comic book series set 10 years after the events of Creed 3 to continuing Adonis' story and expanding his universe, here's what's next for the Creed franchise.
Damn. Boy, you had me. Damien.
Yeah, just got back to the hood, stopped by the old gym, but
Yeah, we upgraded a couple years ago.
After securing the license from MGM, Boom Studios announced that they were working on a 4-issue comic book series with Michael B. Jordan's production company, Outlier Society, and Chardoff Winkler, the same company that produced the original Rocky all the way back in 1976. In a recent press release, Boom Studios revealed that Jordan's the creative director of the new story, and he's collaborating with legendary co-writers LaToya Morgan and Jai Jameson. The new series will drop in June of 2023, and I don't know about y'all, but I can't wait to see what Jordan and his team are cooking up. As for the comic storyline, Boom Studios has teased an interesting story so far.
It's time, kid.
But it's nothing fans didn't see coming after Creed 3. The comic book series picks up 10 years after the end of the movie, after Adonis is long retired and out of the boxing ring. But he's not out of the game yet. Along with his wife and manager Bianca, he's training the next boxing champion, his daughter, Amara. By the time the series opens, Amara's an amateur boxer who's hungry for the championship title. But Donnie and Bianca won't let her fight more dangerous and deadly opponents, which is understandable considering she's their only child. But Amara's hungry to fight in the big league, so she'll be on the lookout for a new trainer, someone who's not afraid of challenging Adonis's wishes and knows exactly how to train her to fight like a Creed. It's an interesting premise and brings Apollo's legacy into the new era, but I'll get into that later.
And we're off in round 12. 3 minutes to decide the heavyweight championship of the world.
First things first, what do the fans think of all this? Well, they're pretty divided on the Creed series jumping so far ahead in the timeline. One Reddit user wrote that they didn't understand why Jordan and his creative team would rip through Creed's timeline so quickly. The user was also disappointed that the third movie took place after his retirement, which means that we've barely seen Donnie in his prime, and the fact that his career was concluded off-screen was disappointing. On the other hand, the comic itself is great because it's targeting a younger audience, especially young women who may relate to Amara's struggle as she climbs to the top. But then there were fans who don't see the point of a comic book series. Their main issue is that it's a spin-off of a spin-off, like the Bass Reeves story from the Yellowstone universe. Those fans feel they haven't spent enough time getting to know Amara, and the series hasn't fleshed out her character enough to justify a comic series. The thing is, Creed 3 was totally leading up to a storyline where Amara grows up and becomes an amateur boxer. Because if there's one thing the movie established, it's that she wants to follow in her dad's footsteps. But other fans are excited about the comics. Because in case you didn't know, Boom Studios is the same publisher behind Keanu Reeves' Berserker series, so you know they're gonna make something memorable for the fans, especially the ones who grew up watching Creeds 1, 2, and now 3. LaToya Morgan, a super fan of both Rocky and Creed, says the comic dives deeper into the Creed dynasty and is Amara's story through and through. So if you're a super fan of the franchise looking for something new and fresh and some amazing artwork and comic panels, then Amara's story is for you. And from what I know so far, the story will continue a major theme from the Creed movie, which is how the past affects the present.
Commissioner want to know who we plan to fight next. You ain't got to fight Drago, but you got to fight someone. You got to defend the belt. Otherwise, it's going to be vacated.
In the first movie, Adonis comes to grips with carrying the legacy of a man he never knew. And in the second movie, he's still trying to discover who he is as a fighter and whether he really has what it takes to carry the Creed name. As for Amara, she'll be struggling to deal with the fact that she's carrying on the legacy of a man who's actively trying to hold her back from achieving greatness. Not only is she trying to get out from under Donnie's shadow, but she's also trying to come into her own as a professional fighter and create her own legacy. Besides, there's also the tease of who her new trainer will be, because they'd have to know the way a Creed fights and then teach Amara so she moves and punches the same way. What do you think though? Who do you think her new trainer will be? And is a comic series set 10 years after Creed 3 really worth it? Anyway, the real question is, what does this mean for Creed 4?
I don't want to go there.
You're gonna love her.
How you gonna ask me a question like that, Rock? Yeah, I'm gonna love her.
Good. Cause she ain't feeling sorry for herself and
Jordan's already confirmed that there are plans for another movie, but if Creed 3 hinted that he's officially retired, and the comics are hinting that he's been out of the boxing ring for 10 years, Creed 4 would have to drastically shake up the series' formula in order to make sense. With the comics timeline set a decade away, it means the franchise could go in many directions before that comes to pass. At the time of this recording, Jordan, MGM, and the rest of the cast and crew have been tight-lipped about the topic, only revealing that something's coming. But the details of what that something could be are being kept under wraps. That doesn't mean we can't speculate about what we could expect from the next Creed movie. For example, it could focus on Adonis as a new businessman and boxing promoter instead of a fighter, which would subvert audience expectations. And based on what we've already seen, it makes total sense. He is a businessman now and needs to usher in a new era of champions, but doesn't have to train Amara specifically and could play a Rocky-esque role to others. Turning him into a mentor for a young underdog would add another layer to his character, and I know what you're probably thinking. Rocky V did that, and it failed miserably. But the thing about Rocky V is that it chose street fighting over traditional boxing and had a weak script with no real compelling drama.
You want to shoot some 8-ball or something?
Hey! Man, I ain't through talking with you yet.
Hey, look, Tommy, I ain't got no more to say to you, okay? Look, I just want good things for you.
Oh,
all
hell
right?
you did. And you're only in this for the money.
Money?
Yeah, I'm tired of walking around in your shadow, man. People call me your robot.
Another thing about the Creed and Rocky franchises, though, is that it's a saga. It's a long journey involving family, love, relationships, and heartbreak. The boxing is just the glue that keeps it all together from sequel to sequel. So if there is a Creed 4, you can almost be sure that it won't repeat Rocky V's mistakes. But there's also the argument that changing Donnie's role in the films could ruin the character for fans. As I said earlier, Creed 3 starts with him already retired, only coming out of retirement to fight one last time, so we haven't really seen his prime. Audiences didn't see him fighting a series of battles that genuinely challenged him, like Ricky Conlan or Victor Drago. The idea of a retired Donnie promoting boxing matches, running a successful business, and mentoring a new champion doesn't sound like a bad thing. I mean, he can finally take on the role that Rocky played in his life and give back to the boxing community. But what's next for this universe? What about the Ivan Drago spinoff if Donnie's story is on hold for now? Action star Dolph Lundgren recently shared some exciting news about that. Ivan was surprisingly absent from Creed 3, considering that his son Victor was up for a fight before things went south. But it turns out that was by design. Dolph says Drago's story is connected to the Russian-Ukrainian war that started in February of 2022, and that a spinoff would follow Ivan and Victor living in Kiev, Ukraine at the height of the invasion. Dolph describes it as an immigration/fighter story, and the entire reason why the father and son duo migrate to America in the first place. The spin-off will continue an important theme from the Rocky franchise and root its story in real-life politics and war, kind of like what we saw in Rocky IV. So maybe we can expect a blast from the past. Dolph made his official debut as Ivan Drago in the final years of the Cold War, when tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States were at its peak. And if Drago decides to use Rocky IV's formula, then both new and longtime fans will be very pleased with the end result. Plus, it would explain where Ivan was during the events of Creed 3. If Victor made it out of Ukraine for his fight with Felix Chavez, then his dad was probably stuck in Ukraine due to the war. The spin-off could focus on the father and son trying to find a new home, while dealing with the fallout from the war between Russia and Ukraine, which up until now has had dire consequences for all involved. So from continuing Adonis' story and expanding his universe to an official Creed comic book series set 10 years after the events of Creed 3, that's what's next for the Creed franchise.